Mercedes just did exactly what F1 feared. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Mercedes chief explains the new upgrade package coming to the United States Grand Prix will be vital for 2024 car development. Mercedes will be bringing critical upgrades for the W14 for this weekend's race in Austin, Texas. The upgrade package late in the season holds significance as it will help guide the Brackley-based squad into the 2024 season. After starting the 2023 season on the back foot, Mercedes made a drastic change in development direction mid-season. The sudden change in direction meant the team had to once again sacrifice its campaign to start the 2024 campaign on the right foot. The new floor to be introduced in Austin will serve the exact purpose as technical director James Allison terms the upgrades as the bellwether of its current trend. Ahead of the sprint weekend in Texas, Allison explained about the all-important upgrades. Hopefully it will give us a bit of lap time. Always a benefit, but it is mostly a useful thing because it's a bellwether for whether we're on the right track. In lap time terms, it will be small, useful, but don't expect us to have leaped past max. While Allison is cautiously optimistic about gaining lap time with the upgrades, it will more importantly help set the course for Mercedes for the next couple of seasons. There are just 2 years left until the 2026 regulation changes come into effect. And Allison reckons it is extremely important to start the next season with the right concept to set the tone for the final season under the current regulations in 2025. Yes, it's extremely exciting, and he's right that it's a very important phase, because we all have an eye on the fact that 2026 is coming our way with major rule changes where everything starts over again. He concluded, "That means that what you do for 2024 is also relevant for 2025 because a lot of parts have to be taken with you. So it's hugely important, not just for 2024, but also for 2025. Allison added that the engineers back at their base in Brackley have a pretty clear-sighted view of what they want to do with the W14's successor. Both Mercedes drivers floundered their chances of a podium finish at the Qatar GP as a lap 1 collision undid their splendid qualifying efforts. Nonetheless, George Russell's pace was encouraging as he rallied through the field to take home a 4th-place finish. After an underwhelming weekend in the Middle East, trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin commented on how the Mercedes W14 would stack up at the Circuit of the Americas. He said, "That's a very different track. It's an aggressive tarmac, very easy to overheat the tires, and probably our worry there is going to be the high-speed performance. That's where Red Bull and McLaren look particularly strong. It does have plenty of low-speed corners, and in Qatar we were very good in the low speed. It's difficult to know exactly where we are going to stand out, but our goal is to go there and hopefully be fighting for a podium." Mercedes currently sits second in the standings, 28 points up on Ferrari with 5 rounds left in the season. The second story is FIA suspicions raised after singling out Lewis Hamilton accusation made. The FIA revisiting Lewis Hamilton's amble across the racetrack in Qatar has been labeled as inconsistent by a Le Mans winner. Following his retirement from the Qatar Grand Prix after a Turn 1 collision with Mercedes teammate George Russell, Hamilton walked across the active racetrack in order to get back to the pit lane. The race itself neutralized under a safety car at that point. The FIA examined the incident and handed Hamilton a large fine of $50,000. Picking up an official reprimand, half of the fine was suspended on condition that Hamilton does not commit any further transgressions between now and the end of the season. FIA kicks off controversy by re-examining Lewis Hamilton incident. While the matter was seemingly over and done with, the governing body reopened the can of worms by confirming that they would be revisiting the incident. Acknowledging Hamilton's contrition after visiting the stewards in Qatar, a statement from the FIA said, "However, in view of his role model status, the FIA is concerned about the impression his actions may have created on younger drivers." This position has been decried by various pundits, including Alex Brundle and Karan Chandok, with the Sky F1 broadcaster pointing out that Max Verstappen had walked on the track tarmac to get back to the pits following a collision with Hamilton at Monza 2021. This week's episode of the On Track GP podcast discussed the topic, with Jamie Chambers saying that Hamilton's position as F1's most visible driver makes his actions more influential. "We don't talk about Formula One drivers in the way that we talk about football and rugby players," he said. "We talk about them as a personality that is integral to the team in the car." Lewis, more so than most, is very much in the public eye. He has a very outspoken opinion on a lot of things, and he has a huge following. As soon as Lewis does something like that, we don't say, "Oh, Hamilton got out of the car and walked away." We say, "Lewis got out of the car and walked across the track." It's hugely influential. When a driver shirks rules like that, a race driver doing that, it's a huge no-no. It's setting a dangerous precedent. Mercedes have set the clear goal of fighting for a podium finish at the upcoming United States Grand Prix as the team looked to bounce back from a compromised race last time out in Qatar and get their hands on some more silverware. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton displayed an impressive turn of pace at the Lusail International Circuit last time out, securing second and third on the grid in qualifying behind pole-sitting world champion Max Verstappen. However, a clash between the teammates at the start saw Hamilton eliminated there and then and forced Russell back to the pits for a new front wing, after which he charged his way through the field to salvage fourth position. Speaking in Mercedes' post-Qatar Grand Prix debrief, trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin gave his thoughts on the W14's performance at the Lusail International Circuit and any learnings that can be taken to Austin this weekend. "We were expecting the car to work pretty well," commented Shovlin. "We'd had the sprint race to be able to see the pace of the car, so that was definitely encouraging. The free practice pace had also been strong. We had a good indication that it was going to work well. This circuit suited our car much more than Suzuka, the previous race." Mercedes' form has ebbed and flowed throughout the season depending on track characteristics, highlighted by them fighting for pole and victory in Singapore, slipping back in Japan and returning to the fore again in Qatar. As such, Shovlin admitted to a big question in the Mercedes camp regarding exactly where they will stack up in the pecking order at the Circuit of the Americas, but he nonetheless hopes to see Hamilton and Russell pushing for the rostrum places. "That's a very different track," he said. "It's an aggressive tarmac, very easy to overheat the tires, and probably our worry there is going to be the high-speed performance. That's where Red Bull and McLaren look particularly strong. It does have plenty of low-speed corners, and in Qatar we were very good in the low speed. It's difficult to know exactly where we are going to stand out, but our goal is to go there and hopefully be fighting for a podium. We had a really good chance of getting both cars on the podium in Qatar, but hopefully we will be fighting for the podium in Austin." Mercedes sits second in the constructors' standings with 5 rounds remaining, 28 points ahead of Ferrari, 96 clear of Aston Martin, and 107 up on McLaren. The third story is Mercedes reveals Wolff's vital Mercedes role, despite F1 absence. Lewis Hamilton has revealed that Toto Wolff has been a part of every single meeting Mercedes have had over the past 2 race weekends, despite his physical absence. A knee operation has seen Wolff miss both the Japanese and Qatar Grand Prix, with the Austrian expected back in the paddock for this weekend's race in Austin, Texas. The team principal has been instrumental in creating the success that Mercedes have enjoyed in previous years, with many wondering how the team would cope without the 51-year-old's trackside influence. Yet, Hamilton has now revealed that despite being absent from the circuit, Wolff has still played a key role for the team as he continued to recover from his operation. Even though he's not here in person, and he's obviously devastated he can't be here, he's a part of every single meeting, Hamilton told the media. He's on the comms just like the guys back at the factory are on the comms for strategy all weekend. He is still 100% fully part, just not physically there in the country. He's a part of those meetings, he speaks in all those meetings just as he does when he's here. He's worked incredibly hard to set up this team to be where it is today, and he should be able to have weekends off without a problem, the 7-time world champion added. He has the right to if he wanted to, but it's just because he's recovering. I just tell him we'll be pushing, and I just always tell him, don't worry, you set up a great team, we'll try and do you proud. Although Red Bull have wrapped up the Constructors' Championship title with 5 races to go, the competition for P2 is still very tight. The Silver Arrows currently hold a 28-point lead to Ferrari in third, with Aston Martin a further 68 points behind, as McLaren round off the top 5, another 11 points adrift. Wolff will therefore be hoping that his team can put further distance between themselves and Ferrari at this weekend's US Grand Prix. Following the subpar performance of the W14 and the drivers failing to extract any pace advantage from the car, Mercedes has shifted all their attention to their 2024 Challenger. They have already started working on developing W15 capable of challenging Max Verstappen's Red Bull. Now, George Russell has come forward, admitting success of W15 isn't guaranteed. W14 seemed to produce insufficient downforce and also had balance issues. This caused Mercedes drivers Lewis Hamilton and Russell to be underconfident while tackling high-speed corners. To sort out all the struggles they are facing, the team has started bringing updates on the current W14 to get crucial information for the development of W15 next year while addressing issues the drivers have with it. Russell feels that Mercedes cannot make a promise that the W15 next year could catch up to the RB20 in terms of performance. He said, as reported by RacingNews365.com,